So, good morning everyone. It's nice to see you all back here again. We're continuing our study of God's character, and this will be the final study in the series, I believe. It'll be number 12. And in this study we're going to look at God as the God of life and health and happiness. And Jesus demonstrated this when he came to the earth. He healed the sick, he raised the dead, he cleansed the lepers, he gave sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf, and so on. He raised the dead. And this is a sign of God's power. And when we look at God's power, we really see that God is the great healer. But unfortunately, we have an antagonist, Satan, who seeks to convince men to walk in his ways. And his ways don't lead to life, they lead to death and destruction. And unfortunately, a lot of people in the world are deceived by the power of Satan into following wrong principles. And so they become entrapped in ways of doing things which bring ill health and sickness to them. But the main point we want to bring forward this morning is that God's ways are ways of life. And in following those ways, we are following the character of God. So, firstly, we'd like to go to John chapter 10, verse 10. And here we read these wonderful words that Jesus himself spoke. We'll start at verse 9. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. So Christ is the door. God is the door, but Christ is the door. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. So here Jesus talks about this contrast between himself. We have Jesus, who comes to give life abundantly, and he comes to give life itself. Life and life more abundantly. And then there is the thief, who is the thief is a representative of Satan, who is a thief who comes to kill, destroy, etc. To steal, I think was the other word. And he takes away our life, he diminishes our life. So he works against us. And when he deceives us, we lose what God is wanting to give. We lose life and life more abundantly when we follow his directives. So we want to go through some Bible verses which teach that God wants us to be healthy and strong. And we see just in everyday illustrations, if I cut my finger, for instance, with the knife when I'm chopping up the vegetables or working on the farm, that instantly, that in a normal person, that wound will correct itself, like the blood will stop flowing, it will coagulate, and the wound will self-heal. And that is God at work. The same when your muscles get tired or get overworked, a good night's rest, and then in the morning you're normally all right. No matter what goes wrong with you, there are remedies that God has given to bring back health. And that is a part of the makeup of the human body that God has put into it. So this is what our God is like. Let's go now to Psalm 139 and verse 14. And this is a wonderful psalm. And here it says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I'll just find the exact words here when I find the place. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvellous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. So when God made us, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are made by a God who knows what he's doing. When he created us in the beginning, he created man perfect, spiritually, mentally and physically. But man has lost sight of God to a large extent, and because of that we've lost God's ways. But when he made us, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. The body is not a product of evolution as most people think today, or many people think today. It is the work of a creator. The body is the work of a creator who had a design, who knows how the body works. And if something goes wrong with our car or with our motorbike or something like that, you go to the manufacturer to find out what has gone wrong. It's the same with the human body, which is fearfully and wonderfully made. And scientists today are still trying to unravel the intricacies of the human body. They're going deeper and deeper into the more minute parts of the human body. The bacteria in the gut, the various things like DNA and RNA and all those things to understand the human body much better. So this is the way God has made us. Now, in the beginning, God demonstrated what makes man healthy. And he did this by putting man, when he put man on the earth, he made man and woman. He made family. And family, man and woman, and family is healthy for man. It's not good for man to be alone. When all are working together in harmony with God, this is a very healthy relationship, man and woman and family. And this is for man's good and for woman's good too. But when I say man, I'm talking about both, mankind. He also put man in a garden environment. And man was to dress and keep the garden. Dress and keep it. That was a part of his daily work, but he didn't see it as work. He enjoyed it so much. It was more of a hobby that he did for a large part of the day. And when we bear this in mind, we can see what can make people healthy today. And nothing has changed. This is still a healthy environment for man. Now, what did he give man to eat? Well, in Genesis 1:29, we see what God gave man to eat. And this is a surprise to many people who only get their Bibles out once a year, at Christmas time perhaps. And when they go to church at Christmas once a year, they get their Bibles out, and they may have learned this, but probably not. There's a lot of people who never read their Bibles, who've never read their Bible through from beginning to end. So when we teach this, a lot of people are surprised because they've either never read their Bible properly or they've never noticed it. But here in 1:29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, or food. So the food back there in the Garden of Eden was very simple. Fruits, we can say vegetables too. Some of those herbs or vegetables were added a bit later, but some vegetables are included in the first Genesis 1:29. Grains and nuts are included in that category. So the Lord God designed us to eat those foods, and they are the best foods for the human body. And when people eat those foods, they will find an increase in vitality and an increase in resistance to disease. Their immune system will be boosted. So the immune system will be boosted by eating what God designed for us to eat in the beginning. And this is true of whether we're already healthy or think we're healthy or whether we're sick. In either case, the remedy is good there in diet. And this is a very important part of understanding what constitutes true health and how we can maintain that health. There's a lot of issues in this because the earth is waxing old like a garment. And so when we're eating these foods today, we should be also considering that the earth is lacking some minerals today, and that causes the food to lack some minerals too, for eating from the same place all the time. And so we should do this intelligently. That is, we should do some research. If we're growing our own garden, we should find out what to put in our soil to make the soil perform the best. And this is a part of being intelligent, an intelligent person. who's learning from the Creator. So we've got to keep up to date. And there's superfoods today which particularly help us to maintain a healthy constitution. For instance, turmeric is a superfood, ginger is a superfood, and so on. There's so many of them today that have been proven by example over thousands of years to benefit mankind, and proven today by science to be a beneficial things for our immune system. So let's read some of God's promises now concerning health. Let's go to the book of Exodus and chapter 15. And this is one of my favourites, in verse 26. If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that heals thee. So God is the Lord that heals us. Now, God is making a promise that if you follow my design, if you follow my designs as a creator, if you put into your body the things which maintain this fearfully and wonderfully made body, I will honour that by bringing healing and health to your body. And this is based in family life, it's based in a good environment, even if we may not be in a position to have a backyard or a garden. We should still go out in nature, go out into God's environment on the weekend or whenever we can when we're not working, and enjoy nature, because that is God's healing power in that. He created it to be like that. Now, what are the diseases of the Egyptians? The point is that the Egyptians were not following God's ways. At this time, most of them, some of them did come out with Moses and those who came out of Egypt, but the Egyptians were not following God's ways. And so they had diseases. And scientists have found out what these diseases are. We won't go into the story of how they found out, but by studying the mummies from Egypt and bones, ancient bones, they found that they had diabetes. They found they had heart conditions, heart disease. That includes all types of heart disease. They found that they had arthritis. They found that they had high blood pressure. they found that they had cancer. So, does that sound familiar? It should. Wouldn't you expect that they would have a totally different set of diseases to what we have today? But no, they have the same diseases. And the point is that a lifestyle, a certain lifestyle leads to these diseases. And the Egyptians lived that lifestyle. And therefore they got those diseases way back there, thousands of years ago. But when God's people lived the lifestyle that God wanted them to live, what happened? Well, let's read what happened from Psalm 105, verse 37. 105, verse 37. And this is talking about bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt. He brought them forth also with silver and gold, and there was not one feeble person among their tribes. Not one feeble person among their tribes. So when God brought them out of Egypt, from the ways of Egypt, not one feeble person. Among their tribes. That is quite an accomplishment, because there was a very large population who came out of Egypt. Wasn't there? I think says there was 1 million or something like that, plus women and children. So the amount of people who came out of Egypt was huge. It was probably 3 or 4 million. There was a lot of Egyptians too that came out with them. Certain amount of Egyptians. They saw that the Lord was with Moses and wasn't with Pharaoh. They came out of the style of living in Egypt, and they came out with the children of Israel, and their diseases left them. Now, what diet did God put the children of Israel on when they came out of Egypt? Very simple diet, wasn't it? Very, very simple. It was the manna and the water out of the rock. Now, this, for those who are interested in health, was a very cleansing diet. God put them on a cleansing diet. Now, if you put someone with diabetes on a cleansing diet, which is certainly some fasting involved. We know of one person who heals people through a fast, and it was all done under doctor's supervision. In Australia, we heard of one case. I wasn't involved in it, but you would only do it under a doctor's supervision. But they found that the diabetes went during a fast, and their sugar levels returned to normal. It wasn't just a water fast, it was a juice fast. And so these things are possible. But God put them on a restricted diet. And this was only to be for a short time. until they got to the land of Canaan. But because they rebelled against God while they were going through the wilderness, they were in the wilderness for a very long time, for 40 years. So they're on that same diet. But if we turn to Psalm 85, Psalm 81, sorry. And here it says in verse 10, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Open wide thy mouth, and I will fill it. So God wanted to give them good food. But my people would not hearken to my voice, and Israel would none of me. So I gave them up unto their own heart's lust, and they walked in their own counsels. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies, and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the finest of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. So God would have added to the manna if they had obeyed his voice and not delayed in the wilderness. They would have got honey out of the rock and wheat. But that was a symbol, I believe, of an increase in different kinds of food God would have given to them in the wilderness if they had been faithful to him. So there are so many of these Bible verses which tell us about how God wants to bring healing to his people. And these apply today as well. For instance, let's read 3 John verse 2. Let's go to that now. 3 John verse 2. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospers. So that is God's will for us today, to prosper and be in good health. Now, unfortunately, when people get to around the 60s or so, the health really starts to break down. But that's not God's will. We just read it. That it's not God's will for us to be sickly, to be encumbered with diabetes, with high blood pressure, with heart attacks, strokes, cancer, all these things. He wants us to prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prospers. So what we want to do is to look back and see how God set up things in the first place, in the beginning. What they ate back then in the Garden of Eden. What work did they do in the Garden of Eden? And we want to see that a healthy lifestyle was given to man in the beginning. So when we find our health breaking down, we should look to God for the solutions. And one of those is diet. What are we eating? And we should learn the diet which suits man the best. Which we find in the Garden of Eden, and the kind of work done in Eden. If we can't do that kind of work, live in the country. And we can live in the country and then commute to the city for the sake of our family if we wish. So if we lived in the outskirts of the city, in the country, in most places 45 minutes could get you to your job in the city and home again. And this is preferable to just living right in the city amongst the cars, the smog, the smoke and that sort of thing. Depends which country you're living in. In Australia you can live in the suburbs and go to work in the city, and that's quite a good environment really. But in big cities of America, of Japan and England and countries like that, China, that it's just too difficult because it would take you an hour and a half or 2 hours commuting. So you're better to go out into the country and get a job in a smaller town instead. But which is more important, your health or to risk having these diseases? And if you have these diseases, you really need to look to God for the solutions to those diseases. Now, I'd like now to go to the book of Leviticus, chapter 17. And in the book of Leviticus, chapter 17, it gives us some clues on important issues concerning health. And I just need to make some room on the board again. And I know that some people have heard the New Start presentation. We'll just put this here, which is a word which was thought up by by a religious group, which shows God's ways of healing. And N stands for nutrition or diet. E stands for exercise. W stands for drinking water and cleanliness. S stands for sun and the benefits of sun. T stands for temperance. A stands for air. The air we breathe, oxygen is so important to healing. Temperance, not eating too much, eating the right foods. R stands for rest. And T stands for trust in divine power. And these are great keys to a healthy lifestyle that God has given. And there's a Christian writer called Ellen White, And she wrote about these back in the 1860s. About these being God's healing remedies. And health practitioners today are realising the benefit of all these remedies. For instance, the changing of diet can make a big difference to a person's health. Exercising pumps blood around the body, circulatory system, and it increases oxygen to the cells. Water cleanses the body from impurities. Sun has a good effect on the body. It has a healing effect. It works in many ways. Temperance, not eating too much, but choosing the foods and the drinks that you drink. Air, getting good fresh air every day, going for a walk, that type of thing. Going to the country, and rest, getting ample rest, and at night and during the day if you need it, and trusting in God that God will supply our needs. Now, in the book of Leviticus, chapter 17, we read in verse 14, this is talking about the blood. Verse 11 we'll read first. For the life of the flesh is in the blood. And then later in verse 14, still talking about the blood. For it is the life of all flesh, the blood of it is for the life thereof. Therefore I said unto the children of Israel, you shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eateth it shall be cut out off. So God forbade them to eat the blood of animals. So when they did eat animals, they weren't to eat the blood. And people who eat the blood of animals, if you're going to eat meat, you're really better to eat it without the blood, as they did back then. Because the blood is so important in the body. The blood is the life of the body. And when you take in animal blood into your body, then you're interfering with God's ways of doing things. And as a result, you will get yourself quite sick often with what you're eating. Because in the blood are the parasites, the diseases of the animals that you are taking into your body when you eat the blood. So eating blood is not a good thing. Now, putting substances into the blood too has a detrimental effect on the body. And we should be careful what we allow to come into our bloodstream. And that is very important as well, especially in the last days. Now, man has his ways today. And many of his ways are directly against God's ways. For instance, God has given every animal after its kind. He made a separation between the animals. He made a separation between the plants as well. But man has thought to change those ways. And one of the ways that he does that is GMO foods, genetically modified organisms. And when you interfere with the genetics of these foods that people are eating, and you're inserting animal genes into plant genes that people are going to eat as plants, you're doing some serious damage to the human body. And also, if you put into the blood substances like mercury, aluminium, animal DNA, fetus DNA, virus, animal virus, such as mouse virus, or virus from pig, or virus from monkey. When these things go into the blood, you don't know what the results are going to be. But scientists who are studying these things are finding out some of the effects of putting these substances into the human body now. And the results are not good at all. And so we need to be very careful what we put into the human body. We are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And it was never his plan that we get these substances into our human bodies if we want to be healthy and we want to be strong and we want to be well. So, if we want to be healthy, we should search God's ways, especially when we come up against modern diseases that are arising everywhere. We should be very careful to look at God's ways and see what they are, and to be careful about adopting ways that could destroy our health even further. And not only our own health, but some of these substances can be passed on to our children as well. And so, as a human race, if we get certain genetic changes that take place from eating certain foods or getting certain substances into our blood, they can change our genetics and make our genetics weaker or more susceptible to certain diseases. So let's go God's way. Prosper and be in good health. Use the diet, or as close as you can, the diet that God gave to us. Use good diet, exercise regularly in the open air, drink pure water, get out in the sun, get your vitamin D. And sun also has a good effect on your cholesterol too. Be temperate. And this comes as a result of a relationship with Christ, to be temperate in life. Get fresh air. If you live in the city all the time and there's cars going past you day and night, you're breathing very bad air, which is going to destroy your health. Rest. Don't stay up all night watching TV or watching videos. Get ample rest at night and trust in divine power, because God is the creator. He is the one that can watch over us. So God is the God of life. He has come to give us abundant life, but we have a thief that comes to kill, destroy and to steal, to work against us. And some men go the way of that thief for their own purposes and can destroy our lives too by what they tell us to do if it's against what God has given to us. So with that we shall stop there, and we pray that these studies have been a blessing to you. Thank you.